Chapter 2. The Establishment of True Buddhism. At the summit of Mount Seicho, surrounded by the Kasagamori woods, Nichiren Daishonin stood alone, watching as the sun rose. It was the morning of the 28th day of the 4th month in the 5th year of Kenji, 1253. Facing the sun and the entire universe, he began to solemnly invoke Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. South of the Jibutsu-do Image Hall in Seichoji Temple at noon, Nichiren Daishonin preached the great law concealed in the depths of the Juryo chapter of the Lotus Sutra, or Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, for the first time. He was 32 years old. Concerning this event, the Daishonin stated in, quote, letter to the priests at Seicho Temple, unquote, to repay my debt of gratitude to Bodhisattva Kokuzo on the 28th day of the 4th month in the 5th year of Kencho 1253, south of the Image Hall in Dozembo's lodging in Seichoji Temple in Awa Province, I began preaching the law to the priests and lay believers assembled there, such as Joenbo and some others. Gosho, page 946. This was the declaration that established the Daishonin's Buddhism, the supreme Buddhism that can save all people in the 10,000 years of Mappo, had emerged into this world. The Daishonin left home to study at Seichoji Temple at the age of 12. Having gained a basic education, he was tonsured at the age of 16 under the tutelage of Dozenbo and changed his name from Zennichimaro to Zenshobo Rencho. As his Buddhist learning deepened, Zenshobo gradually came to have three fundamental questions about Buddhism. The first regarding the Shingon, True Word School. This school asserted that its teachings would bring about tranquility and protect the country. However, in reality, its practice produced the opposite result. The country was in turmoil. The second was doubt about the Nembutsu practice. Nembutsu believers often showed the worst physical appearance at the time of their deaths. The third was which is the correct denomination or which is the most reliable sutra in accordance with the lifetime teaching of Shakyamuni Buddha. Various Buddhist schools, such as Shingon, Nembutsu, Pure Land, and Zen, asserted their legitimacy without producing proof of their claims. To resolve these questions, the Daishonin determined to deepen his own study of Buddhism. He set about visiting various temples and schools in Kamakura, Kyoto, Nara, and Mount Hiei. There is a generally accepted view that the Daishonin became convinced that the Lotus Sutra was the absolute truth after his thorough study at these places. This, however, is not correct. The Daishonin made his advent in this world with the profound truth of the Lotus Sutra deep within his heart. His study was undertaken only to assimilate the learning of a common mortal, confirming pre-existing certainties and obtaining contemporary proof. What was the truth to which Nichiren Daishonin awakened? First, the Daishonin awakened to the fact that he himself was Bodhisattva Jogyo, the leader of the Bodhisattvas of the earth, who possessed the great mission to propagate his own mystic law for the salvation of the people in the age of Mappo, as was predicted in the Lotus Sutra. Second, as the Great Collection Sutra, Daijuku, predicted, quote, after the 5th 500-year period, the pure law shall disappear, unquote. The entire country of Japan Deviating from true teachings of Shakyamuni, believing in evil sects, and upholding the wrong teachings was frequently experiencing various kinds of disasters. Therefore, the Daishonin decided that he should do Shakabuku and practice exactly as the Buddha expounded in the true teaching. Once he had completed his study and preparation, the very life or heart of the Daishonin was Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, of the three great secret laws. The emergence of Bodhisattva Jogyo was predicted in the Lotus Sutra, which also predicted that he would propagate the law. However, Nichiren Daishonin at this time was merely a young priest, seemingly a common mortal. Quote, the opening of the eyes, unquote, states, if I speak even a word about it, then my parents, brothers, and masters will surely be persecuted by the ruler of the nation. If I do not say anything about it, I will be lacking in compassion. Considering the possible courses of action in light of the Lotus and Nirvana Sutras, as to whether I speak out or keep silent, if I do not speak out, my present lifetime will be safe. However, after death, I shall fall into the hell of incessant suffering. If I speak, I am fully aware that I will have to encounter the 3 obstacles and 4 devils. Of these 2 possible courses, I have to speak out at any cost in this lifetime. Gosho, page 538 to 539. After deep deliberation over whether to launch the practice exactly as the Buddha expounded or not, and whether he should establish the teaching of the true cause or not, Nichiren Daishonin decided to speak out and not regress, knowing that in light of the sutra passages, innumerable severe difficulties would arise that he would have to endure and overcome. The true cause, the teaching of the true cause, is the context, which means the Daishonin's own teaching in contrast to the lifelong teaching of Shakyamuni. Nichiren Daishonin's determination was filled with the compassion of the true Buddha, who sincerely wished to save the people with the propagation of true Buddhism. Concerning this, the 26th High Priest, Nichikan Shonin, stated in his, quote, commentary on the, quote, opening of the eyes, unquote, Kaimoko Shoguki, hereinafter it became clear that his determination of doing Shakabuku had been firmly fixed. It was derived from his great compassion, Mondan, page 117. After the declaration of the establishment of true Buddhism, Nichiren Daishonin gave his first preaching at Seichoji Temple, where he had been tonsured, taught, and practiced in his youth. There are 3 reasons for his choice of Seichoji. The first was the repayment of his debt of gratitude to Bodhisattva Kokuzo. As a child, Nichiren Daishonin prayed to Bodhisattva Kokuzo to become the wisest person in Japan. The second was his debt of gratitude to his master, Dozenbo. The third was the contemporary significance of Awa Province. Awa Province at that time was considered to be the central place in the country of Japan because of the existence of the Tensho Daijin Shrine. In this regard, the Daishonin stated in, quote, the repository master Shanwu Wei, Zenmui Sanzo Sho. The fact that I have discerned the errors of various sutras, treatises, and schools is attributable to the benefit of Bodhisattva Kokuzo and to the favor of my former master Dozenbo. Though it happens infrequently, even a turtle repays a debt of gratitude. Yet turtles surpass human beings in repaying debts of gratitude. In order to requite the favor I received from my former master Dozenbo in my youth, I would like to propagate true Buddhism on Mount Kiyosumi and lead him to enlightenment. Gosho, page 414. In the, quote, letter to the priest of Seichoji, unquote, the Daishonin stated, one day during my youth, I received great wisdom from Bodhisattva Kokuzo while I was praying to him, wishing to become the wisest person in Japan. The Bodhisattva, possibly feeling the earnestness of my prayer, bestowed upon me on my right sleeve a great jewel like a morning star. Since then, I have been able to understand the whole of the sutra in essence and the relative worth of the 8 schools. Gosho, page 946. Furthermore, Nichiren Daishonin stated in, quote, Persecutions of the Sage, unquote, Shonin Gonanji. It was on the 28th day of the 4th month in the 5th year of Kenji in Tojo village in the Nagasa district of Awa province. Now Tojo has been upgraded to a district. There was the shrine of Tenjo Daijin built by the general of the right, Minamoto no Yoritomo. The shrine ranked second in Japan at the time. However, presently, it is the foremost in Japan. Gosho, page 1396. The Nichiren Shoshu Yogi states, the first preaching was the starting point of the Daishonin's physical reading of the Lotus Sutra and the beginning of the sowing, as well as the spreading of the Daimoku by the true Buddha in the age of Mappo. Yogi, page 136. At the time of the establishment of true Buddhism, the Daishonin changed his name to Nichiren and began the Buddha's preaching of the 4 dictums. Quote, Nembutsu is the teaching that leads to the hell of incessant suffering. Zen is the teaching that arouses the heavenly devils. Shingon is the teaching that will destroy the nation. And Ritsu is the teaching that assists the country's enemies. Unquote. The Daishonin proclaimed the correct teaching and refuted the erroneous teachings of various schools. Through his physical reading and practicing exactly as expounded in the Lotus Sutra, the Daishonin gradually revealed the realities of his self-actualized Myoho and finally achieved his purpose of his advent, the inscription of the very entity of his life as the Daigo Hunzen of the High Sanctuary. We, the priests and lay believers of Nichiren Shoshu, should never forget the great compassion of Nichiren Daishonin when he began the spread of Nam-myoho Renge Kyo for the sake of all people on April 28th in the 5th year of Kenji, 1253. Let us renew our determination to continuously contribute to the propagation of the correct teaching. High Priest Nichiren Shonin has instructed us, there are 2 aspects of our basic practice in faith. They are the practice of Buddhism for oneself and teaching it to others. Of these 2, with regard to the latter, I wish you to make a vow to the Buddha to shakabuku at least 1 person each year. Dai Nichiren, 584, page 39. We begin to believe in the true law and are now enjoying the great merit of chanting Daimoku because someone introduced us to Nichiren Shoshu. It is high time for us to shakabuku others, telling them of the correct teaching for obtaining the great merit of attaining Buddhahood in one's present form. Let us gradually increase the number of Nichiren Shoshu believers and finally attain worldwide propagation and world peace. Let us strengthen our faith with the spirit of not begrudging our lives.